Move to our guest here. At the bottom of the hour, by the way, we'll play my interview with Ronna McDaniel from Thursday. But Michael Fields is the executive director of Colorado Rising Action, and he rejoins us here on the Jimmy Sengenberger Show on 710 KNUS to talk a little bit about my Betsy DeVos interview we played in the last hour, as well as the presidential debate, particularly Thursday nights, where it featured two Coloradans on the stage. Michael, good evening. Welcome back.
Good evening, Jimmy. It's good to be back on with you.
Good to have you here. So let me ask you about the interview that I did with Secretary DeVos, which you heard. What'd you make of it?
Well, I thought it was really interesting. You know, you have certain people in politics that you have a certain view of, either good or bad, and it's really interesting hearing them talk through certain issues. And I thought the issues that you brought up were really important, especially here in Colorado, the parental choice discussion, knowing that we're in a state that is actually pretty fortunate when it comes to that. We have open enrollment, we have charter schools, we have, private schools and ACE scholarships, a bunch of stuff. But knowing that there is support, in the federal government for the kind of policies that we've been implementing here in Colorado was really good. So I think that, and also your discussion about district schools and how important those are. 70% of our kids go to district schools. And we need to make those better. There's a lot of successes in them, celebrating those successes. So I thought that part of it was really interesting, along with the higher ed discussion that you guys had.
Yeah, and I know you want to talk about higher ed. We'll get to that in a moment. On the K through 12 piece, I really wanted to stress with her, because I'm so tired of this trope that if you support parents' educational choice, that means that you oppose public schools necessarily, or that you oppose teachers necessarily as some default position. Yeah, I know some people who support that movement who aren't very fond of the idea of traditional public schools, sometimes because they believe that it's not the role of government or other reasons. But that is a slim majority of people that I know who support parents' educational choice, and I thought she knocked that question out of the park.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said. There are some people that have that view, but I think the majority of conservatives are saying, look, the best thing was we need to get a good education, a quality education for every kid, and we want parents to be able to help, to lead that process and say, you know what, this is the best fit for it, this charter. I live in an area where we're not well served by, the district school. Other places, the district schools are great, and let's talk about how do we replicate that in areas where it's not going well. But your point about teachers and saying, you know what, we have a lot of respect. We appreciate our teachers. You and I have talked before about we're not paying them enough because money's going to administration. But knowing that we're on the side of teachers, we're on the side of parents, of students, that's the discussion that we should be having, and I'm glad you guys did that.
And just one more question on the K through 12 aspect, and then we'll jump into higher education with you, Michael Fields. You have been the loudest person telling a startling statistic about teacher pay since 1990, and I'd love for you to share that with us again.
Yeah, so since 1990, adjusted for inflation, we have gone up 20% in education spending in Colorado. So a fifth more we're spending on education than we were in 1990. During that same time, teacher pay has dropped 20%. So knowing that, money's going up, it's not going to teachers, it's actually coming away from teachers, is something that we need to talk about and say, where is that money going? Why is it going there? Do teachers even know this? And if we're going to dump more money into the system, where is it going to go? Because teachers are promised that they're going to get more. The track record has shown that hasn't happened. So that 20% and 20% number are really good talking points in terms of, let's push this discussion forward and think, where is money actually going in education? And I think people are startled whenever they hear that.
A good chunk of the interview, a little more than half, was a point of discussion on higher education issues. And I'm curious your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was a good discussion because Bernie Sanders, and all these other candidates are coming out with their plan to, either make tuition free, forgive student loan debt across the board. I think it's a very dangerous discussion. I know you guys touched on it, having the 2/3 of Americans subsidize the 1/3 who decide to take these loans out and are struggling to pay them back or whatever. I think it's just an interesting discussion because I touched on this a few years back when Bernie said we need to make free tuition out there. And said free tuition is pretty expensive, especially for middle American, average Americans who are taxpayers. I think that if you look at it, there's a lot of talk about the transparency, and she brought it up. Transparency from universities saying this is how much you will make if you get this degree on average, and I think that is a very good first step to get that information out there to say, if I take on these loans, will I be able to pay them back or not?
Right.
I also think, though, we have a system that needs a little bit more risk sharing, and looking at it and saying, right now, I take a loan out from the federal government, I pay the school charges whatever they charge, and they get their money up front. No matter what happens to me, if I make the money, if I don't, I'm on the hook to the federal government. There is no, risk at all on the university side or on the college side. And so I think there has to be something if you're only, 25, 50% of your people can pay back the loans that you're giving a degree to, you should be penalized in some way, have to pay some of that money back. There has to be some kind of skin in the game from the university side.
Wholeheartedly
I think
agree.
that would be, yeah. So I just think that's a conversation we've been having for years that we need to continue to have. That will drive down costs. It'll make, the degrees more profitable.
Yes.
They won't be doing basket weaving, underwater basket weaving.
Well,
so,
can I piggyback on that? I want to piggyback on that because I've been saying that for well over a year in a specific context of policy proposal I put forward through the Millennial Policy Center early last year, so well over a year, where I said, okay, let's restore bankruptcy protection for deeply indebted borrowers, which has essentially been made impossible to get nowadays. I mean, it began in the 70s, was solidified in 2005, and what I say is that if you did that you couldn't do this for past borrowers, but for future borrowers, if they discharge their student loan debt in bankruptcy or default on their debt, then a percentage of those losses should have to immediately be recouped by whatever institution they went to school at. So when you do have an instance of a student going to a particular institution, then that school is going to have to say, okay, what is your major that you're looking to do, and make a determination, as you were saying, whether it is actually going to be practical or if it's going to be something like underwater basket weaving. There's no risk to the institution. There's also no risk to the lender, although it's probably primarily now almost entirely the U.S. federal government. But when you got rid of bankruptcy protection, that got rid of risk to the lender as well. If you have risk shared across the board, as you're getting to, that would be one of several ways to really help bring down costs, not just address the overwhelming burden for many young people of student loan debt. And not just young people. Default rates are highest among those between the ages of 40 and 49. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, no, I think what you're talking about gets to the same kind of idea, that there has to be skin in the game and some kind of consequence for the university, who's putting up this product that, people are not being able to make an income in order to pay it. So I think, I agree that something needs to be done in that, and we need to talk about it because there is a bubble. It's a huge bubble. Over the last 30 years, higher education has gone up 500% in terms of the cost. And that's double what healthcare. We know how bad healthcare is. The bubble that's happening in higher education is getting worse, and just forgiving people's loans doesn't fix the problem. I think it's irresponsible, first of all, but it just doesn't get to the heart of what we're talking about. So I'm glad that you're, commenting on this, that you're talking about it. I think people in our generation really need to push this issue because, it's not just these bailouts aren't going to fix it. We need to get to the heart of the problem.
Well, the fact of the matter is that conservatives, Republicans are putting forward ideas on this. For example, we've talked on this program about Senator Gardner's Student Loan Repayment Acceleration Act, which is one way to help get employers in the game more of helping to provide support for their employees to pay down student loan debt more quickly, with 18 to 34-year-olds constituting 61% of the new registered voters from the years 2014 to 2018 in those election cycles. We need to figure out ways to effectively appeal to that demographic in order to help win them over. Our generation, Michael, can be won over with the right kind of policies and a genuine expression of care for the issues that matter, and that means highlighting things that we are putting forward, people like Senator Gardner or Secretary DeVos.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. People look for ideas. What are you doing to actually fix problems? And I think you're right. These are the issues that our generation cares about because they impact us. Can we, buy a house? Can we, plan for the future? It's a big issue for a lot of young people. But I think we also need to look at the structural changes. You guys started talking about it with accreditation for higher education institutions. But, we are living in a society where technology changes quickly, jobs change quickly. We need to have lifelong learners, and we need, that process to be a lot more fluid than it is now. You sit down, you do 4 years, you do each classes exactly. This is how you pay, and the cost is going up. we need to start rethinking how we educate people, higher ed in general. And I think K through 12, I think there needs to be a lot of innovation because I think our education system across the board is behind our economy in a lot of aspects. So I'm glad that you're having this discussion. I think, Corey and Gardner having different ideas. I think it's, we should be the party, the movement of ideas, and we need to see more of it.
Michael Fields, our guest from Colorado Rising Action, Executive Director there. Let's take a break now, and then when we come back, we'll dive into Hick versus Bennett versus the other 8 candidates that were on stage Thursday night in the Democratic Party presidential candidates debate. As we continue on the Jimmy Sengenberger Show, News Talk 710 KN.
Your life is an important one. Here at 710 KNUS, we want to hear how this station is making a direct and positive impact on your life. Each day, our programs that host enter your busy world of responsibilities and challenges. And every day, it's our wish that what you hear on this station positively affects you and your family. We may be your main source of much-needed information, or we may provide you a perspective about the world that is truthful and timely. Maybe it's giving you unique insights at just the right time. These interactions happen regularly, and we'd love for you to tell us about it. Here's what we want you to do. Visit 710knus.com and type in the keyword story for all the details. Then record a video message on a camera or a mobile device and share your story with us. Here's the best part. For sharing your impact story with us, you'll automatically be eligible to win a grand prize of a $1,000 gift card. So share your story today. Visit 710knus.com and use the keyword story for all the details, contest rules, and to submit your video. That's 710knus.com. Keyword story.
Don't sweat through another summer with inefficient windows and doors. With Pella windows and doors from Dream Style, your home will be more comfortable and beautiful, and they'll help you save money on your energy bills. In the month of June only, save $229 per window and $629 per patio door, and pay nothing for 12 months with our special financing, or payments as low as $99 per month. Poor quality windows with leaky seals and poor energy efficiency let in the sun's rays and hot air, making your home hot and driving up your energy costs. Dream Style offers Pella's durable fiberglass Impervia windows that meet or exceed Energy Star guidelines in all 50 states. Save $229 per window and $629 per patio door, and pay nothing for 12 months with our special financing, or payments as low as $99 per month. Don't suffer in the heat. Call Dream Style Remodeling featuring Pella at 303-222-5256 or visit dreamstylewindows.com. That's 303-222-5256.
Some restrictions apply. Not combinable with other offers or promotions. Previous orders excluded. Discounts on labor only.
Quick, how's your most important investment doing? You know, the one that provides safety, comfort, and that all-important roof over your head? Protecting your home is one of the smartest investments you can make. So, does your home have damage? There may be damage you can't see. So if you even think you might, don't wait. Call the experts at 1-800-HANSONS, a trusted home remodeler for 30 years. Increase the value of your home and get it done right with beautiful, hassle-free results and a lifetime product and workmanship guarantee. You'll protect your home investment for less because 1-800-HANSONS is keeping down the price of keeping up your home.
Call 1-800-HANSONS. Get it done.
With savings like these, don't wait. Get up to 65% off the installation of our roofing, siding, and triple pane windows by calling this special toll-free number, 1-800-400-5942. 1-800-400-5942. If lines are busy, try again. That's 1-800-400-5942.
Jimmy Sengenberger, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Grooving back on the Jimmy Sengenberger Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. This tune, a little Robert Randolph and the Family Band, which will also be performing tomorrow at the Blues from the Top Festival in Winter Park. Very excited. Always love going to that festival. Looking forward to it tomorrow. Back on the show with Michael Fields, Executive Director of Colorado Rising Action. And Michael, I think we saw two Coloradans on stage Thursday evening as part of the debate that seemed more like a shouting match oftentimes. What did you make of the big picture of that debate and then the role that Hickenlooper and Bennett played in it?
Well, I didn't think they played much of a role in it. I think we noticed them. I don't know if anybody else really did, but I think the debates are interesting, and they're really interesting for inside, baseball people. They did get a lot of coverage in the two nights that people watched. I don't know. I mean, you have to look at polling to see if anything fundamentally changed. I thought, the talk came out that, Warren and Harris might see a bump. Biden might not have had a great debate, but again, looking at the polls are what really show you and how long lasting that is. But when it comes to Hickenlooper and Bennett, I mean, they really needed a breakout performance. This might be the only time they're on the stage, or soon they might be off of it as the criteria gets higher for them to get on the stage. These guys are polling at 1% or close to 0%, and they needed a breakout moment, and I don't think that happened. I think Bennett was a little bit stronger than Hickenlooper just because he was more assertive. He kind of got into a few conversations, a back and forth with Biden, a back and forth with Bernie. But Hickenlooper, had a few answers and kind of disappeared.
I got to say this about Bennett first, and that is it took Michael Bennett a decade of representing Colorado in the United States Senate to finally find some passion, some fire in his belly when he decided that he was going to run for president and gave that speech, what was it, in January, on the floor of the United States Senate, that everybody nationally, all the Democrats were like, oh my gosh, you have to watch Michael Bennett speak. And I was like, he's running for president now, so finally he actually has passion. He wasn't passionate about Colorado. He's boring Bennett, and now suddenly he's Mr. Excited.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I hadn't seen Michael Bennett like that. I've been watching Michael Bennett for over a decade here in Colorado. Haven't seen that until this year when he decided to run for president. I mean, I think an interesting thing too is there's two comments that one of them, each of them made a comment that I thought was a little bit funny. One was Bennett saying that he had tough races here in Colorado. I think. Obviously, the one with Representative Buck was close. The one with Daryl Glenn wasn't as close. But it wasn't like this was super down to the wire on his second race for sure. And then Governor Hickenlooper talking about Colorado legalizing marijuana and kind of insinuating that he was supportive of it, which he wasn't. So I think when you run for president, you start pulling out some things that might not have been there before, and I think the passion was one of them for Bennett.
Sure. Michael Fields, when we look at John Hickenlooper, a couple of observations. First of all, let's just make it very clear that he's a scientist, not a socialist. That was the number one thing that I learned. Scientist, not socialist. Get the S word right. Second of all, I think he had a very different strategy. Well, I think Bennett's maybe doing some sort of vanity play or really wants a national position as like a member of the cabinet for the next Democratic president should they defeat President Trump. I still believe, as I've argued since November of last year, that John Hickenlooper is going to switch to the United States Senate. I think his audience was actually a national fundraising audience to just get on that stage, be out in front of people as he continues to make a pitch to donors under the guise of running for president. He needs to have a national fundraising base. Then he can go back to them and say, hey, I'm running for senator now. I think that I need to get involved so that I can defeat Cory Gardner, and he'll have more connections because Cory's got a war chest and he's got all these connections. He was NRSC chair, National Republican Senatorial Committee chair, and helped a lot of people get reelected in 2018. President Trump's on his side. So I think that whoever's going to defeat or win the primary to run against Cory Gardner needs to be well equipped, and that I think is Hickenlooper's strategy. I mean, otherwise he's just it is a why the heck are you running because you're not compelling kind of situation.
I think that's a plausible theory. I tend to disagree just because I think he's more angling for a cabinet position too. I just don't think that I don't think he wants to be a senator. I don't think he wants to fly back and forth for 6 years. I don't think he wants to be one of 100. I think once you're a governor, especially somebody like him, I think he likes, leading a department or leading something. And I really don't think that he needed to do this. And I think it almost hurts him more to be out there getting 0% to come back here. Especially when there's so many people to the far left in this primary right now. And in Colorado, it is moving further to the left. So I think Hickenlooper, might not even, he might struggle to get the nomination even if he comes back. But I think, when it comes down to it, I just don't see Hickenlooper as somebody who really wants to do that over a 6-year period, all the flights, all the going around the state. I just don't see it, but I think it's a plausible theory, and I think we'll know pretty soon because he's not going to catch fire and become president. So,
yeah,
it's going to play out one way or the other.
That's fair enough, and certainly, I think he's the strongest Democrat to go up against Cory Gardner, and so I would prefer that he not make that switch as I've been anticipating. But to the end of traveling, I mean, do look at Rick Scott. He was the former governor of Florida and then shifted over to the United States Senate, and now he is a United States senator, going back and forth and what have you. So that's just one example. Although, of course, Hickenlooper's got a very different personality and all of those kinds of things. But I got just over a minute left here, and I'm wondering, in terms of the overall presidential race, whether it involves Bennett or Hickenlooper, your comments here or not, just give us your thoughts on where things are at.
Well, I think, and it's kind of like the Senate race and the presidential race are very similar in that.
Yes.
I just see the Democrats moving so far to the left, pushing things like the Green Dream, pushing things like ending private health insurance that 180 million people are very happy with. They want to let terrorists vote from prison. I think it's just the extreme. I think people are looking at this and saying, look, the economy's pretty good right now. It's very good in Colorado. I think all of these thoughts about, it's going to be a disaster if President Trump is president, none of that stuff has come to fruition. So I think that it's really, right now, they're just getting more extreme. The 25, 26 people that are running for these things are really pushing it to the left. So it's interesting to watch. There's so much time, though, in between now and what happens, when the election comes around. So I'm just kind of watching it and saying, you know what, I think Democrats are outside of the mainstream right now. And I think the Republicans, nationally are doing a pretty good job. So,
10 seconds.
I think that's where we sit.
10 seconds. Are Bennett and Hickenlooper on the stage for the next debate?
One of them. I
One
don't know which one. Maybe Bennett. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's probably a safe bet. One of them, but not both of them. Michael Fields, Executive Director of Colorado Rising Action. Great to check in with you again this evening. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jimmy.